Just one more word of counsel. Be prepared for death and resurrection. Perhaps you found that a little difficult to understand. Let me read you the words of Jesus in John chapter 12, verse 24. Truly, truly, I say to you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, it bears much fruit. There's a universal principle in the natural, in the spiritual. We are applying it, of course, in the spiritual realm, in the Christian life. Your life has got to be released from your own control. You've got to let it go. You've got to let it drop. You often have to witness the death of your most cherished hopes and prospects. You may have made a commitment to God. You may expect God to answer in some wonderful way. And the next thing that happens is everything goes wrong. And you feel, in a sense, isolated. Maybe you had a certain ambition, even a certain person in view for marriage. And after you make this commitment, everything falls apart. And you say, it all went wrong. No, it didn't. It's all going right. God is teaching you this lesson, that if you want His highest will, there has to be a death followed by a resurrection. I've experienced this in my life in certain critical phases of my life. And once I called out to God and I said, God, why does everything you really bless have to die first and then be resurrected? And I felt God gave me this answer. Because when I resurrect something, I resurrect it the way I want it. When you let it go, you let it die, and you give me the liberty to bring it back to life the way I want it. So what will happen in your life? Maybe the plan you had, the thoughts you had, the emotions you had were not from God. You let them die, and God substitutes something that you would never have conceived of, something on a much higher plane. Or maybe the thoughts and emotions and the plans you had were from God. You let them die, and everything falls apart. God is testing your consecration. Will you trust Him in the darkness? And then, when He's proved that you fully trust Him, He restores whatever it was that you felt you'd lost. But He restores it, blessed, multiplied many times over. Be prepared for death and resurrection. I pointed it out mainly on the basis of personal experience, that anything that God really blesses usually has to die and be resurrected. So when you've made these commitments and taken these steps, and everything seems to die on you, don't be discouraged. There'll be death in the fall, but resurrection in the spring. Just have the faith to wait through winter till the spring comes, and you'll be delighted above all that you can ever express or believe with what God resurrects in your life.